On today's Viva ENT Rock, Pop, and Soul, Devin the Dude and Darren Camp tell us all about their enjoyment of the Pearl Jam concert on Tuesday night as they get ramped up to see them again tonight on Thursday, May 30th here in Seattle. Of course, Pearl Jam, hometown heroes here, and one of the biggest rock bands of all time, formed in 1990, consisting of founding members Jeff Ament on bass guitar, Stone Gossard on rhythm guitar, Mike McCready on lead guitar, and Eddie Vedder on lead vocals and guitar, as well as Matt Cameron on drums, who joined in 1998. Pearl Jam has outsold and outlasted many of its contemporaries from the early 1990s and is considered one of the most influential bands from that decade. They formed after the demise of Gossard and Ament's previous bands, Green River and Mother Love Bone. Pearl Jam broke into the mainstream with their debut album 10 in 1991.
Be right. I think about it day and night. I feel like a king, oh yeah. And baby, can't help but stare. Such a rush, baby. Oh, when you touch me, baby.
Guys and dolls, cats and chicks, you're listening to Viva ENT, rock, pop, and soul. I'm Devin, the chair dude.
Hey, share dudes! Are you sitting in on this one?
Well, I picked up a new gig. I'm the water dumping dude at the winery. Like, you pick up the every chair, it gets rained upon outside. Someone's got to pour that water out before the concert. So that was my gig for Sarah McLachlan for 2 nights. So
right
That's
on.
Funny.
So, but in the studio, staying nice and dry, is Darren Camp here.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Welcome back to the show. Of course, Johnny couldn't make it today, so happy to have you stepping in.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Right,
Great
living
to
our
be here.
crazy lives here.
living our best life.
Living the dream.
And in the studio, of course, is the greatest producer in all of Washington State, or Washington, D.C.
Hey, it's Eric.
CC Rider! And we're riding the gravy train today.
Awesome.
So, meanwhile, it might be pouring out rain at the Sarah McLachlan concert, but I've been walking on sunshine this week.
Did you see Katrina and the Waves?
I was going to say, that's a different band.
I've been feeling more like KC and the Sunshine Band here.
Well, we hope it gets sunshine soon.
And for all those listening out there on the AM radio, you can also get the free KKNW app or to stream online on 1150kknw.com for sometimes it's a little clearer on some of these rainy days. So
Sure.
That's correct.
And we're right in between 2 big jams. I just saw Pearl Jam with you, Darren, on Tuesday.
Yeah,
And
great show.
Coming back tonight to the Climate Pledge Arena for another night of jamming.
That's
Wow.
right. Some more jam.
Was there something last night at Climate Pledge so they couldn't book?
I think
Back to back?
I think they wanted to take a day off to rest.
Hey, I don't blame them.
Yeah.
And they're in their hometown,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, and they had proclaimed the 28th Pearl Jam Day.
officially.
But officially, Dow Constantine, the city council guy. And but it's also Pearl Jam Week. And so they've got a lot of other events going on around town in conjunction with that. I know today they have some kiosks up down at by Climate Pledge Arena at Seattle Center with merch. If you want to buy merch, but you're not going to the show, sometimes it's like, hey, I want to buy merch, but I'm not going to the show. So they're going to give people the opportunity to do that today.
And if you can't afford tickets, I'd recommend on Friday at the High Dive, Wash in Black tribute to Pearl Jam. They do a great job.
Right. We saw them up at Tony V's a couple years ago.
Yeah,
Great.
they played with the Stone Temple Pilots tribute, Wicked Garden.
Yep.
So
Great show.
shout out to those guys.
Mm-hmm.
And Deep Sea Diver opened the show for Pearl Jam. They're on tour with them, and they joined them together for All Along the Watchtower.
Yeah, that was awesome. I think that's one of my most watched videos so far.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we've been getting a lot of views because last week we saw Billy Joel.
Yeah.
To mention, and
Billy Joel, the piano man, another legend.
And we're just having this great month from Justin Timberlake twice, Rolling Stones, Billy Joel.
Amen.
Yeah, and so much more ahead here this summer.
Been a big month. Awesome.
So there's been they've been our hometown heroes since the 1990s. So you've seen them before previously to Tuesday?
I did. Yeah, I had. I mean, this tells you how old I am. But back in '92, I was lucky enough to get tickets to the famous Free show, the one that was supposed to be at Gasworks Park and then ended up at Magnuson Park because the mayor sort of shut down the Gasworks Park effort. I've got some pictures I took from that show. They're not that great because it was, it wasn't a cell phone camera. It was an old school.
Actual film.
Yeah, actual film camera. My buddy who I went with, Dave Rock and Roll Smith, and shout out to him. He took some great pictures. And of course, that was the famous one where Eddie climbed up the stage,
like rafters?
Yeah, up into the stage rafter thing and hung from the stage and sang some stuff, and then
I believe that was in the video for Even Flow.
Yeah, and then he slides down the microphone cable like Tarzan.
I think that was shot at the Moore.
The separate one, because the Free show, of course, was at Magnuson Park.
Okay, yeah.
and he did the famous hanging from the rafters thing there for sure. He took the microphone up with him and then strung the microphone cable up over the rail up above the stage, and he was hanging, and he put it just right in front of his mouth.
Right.
Hung the microphone in front of his mouth while he hung there and sang, and then he shot the microphone back down to the stage and sort of slid down the two parts of the mic cable like Tarzan.
And he wasn't like strapped in or anything. He was
it was
free. It was free solo on that.
Yeah, there was no safety on that one.
The wild times in the '90s.
That's right. Yeah. The height of the grunge era.
Yeah, he wasn't doing any of that at the show on Tuesday. It was just straight rock and roll.
Yeah, and then in December of '93, the next year, because that was, I think, in September of '92. In December of '93, I went and saw the Fight, Hate, Educate little concert that they did with Six in the Clip and somebody else. It's funny because my dad had some connections at the Seattle Center. That one was at the Mercer Arena, the old one that no longer exists. And my dad had some connections. He knew a guy on the board at the Seattle Center, so they got me free tickets. So the funny thing is that both of my first two Pearl Jam concerts were free, which is pretty cool.
Very cool.
And we had a bonus part of a Pearl Jam with Matt Cameron this January with Dinosaur Jr.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
At the Neptune. He made an appearance. Mark R. made an appearance, and then Dave Matthews. So
yeah, that
was a very
fun.
special night.
But Matt Cameron and Eddie was really pumping up Matt Cameron last night. I mean, he was really giving him some big kudos.
So they did play Even Flow, but they didn't play like Elderly Woman at the Counter in a Small Town, or one of my favorite songs by them is Black, and they didn't play that one. But maybe they'll play it tonight. So because the set list has been varied. They've been all these tour debuts.
But they played Alive and they played Even Flow and
they played Essentials.
And they also
played for 2 hours.
Yeah,
so yeah.
I mean, they opened up with Release, which was great. Yeah,
and they've been playing some of their new album stuff, which is
from Dark Matter.
Cool. And I noticed the video wall. So at first I was like, "Is there a video wall?" It looked like they're using light and shadows. I thought maybe that big thing was actually just like not even a screen, but then it did turn into a video wall.
Eventually.
But they for the new songs they had much more like music video visuals. When it was on their old stuff, they'd use iMag or they had. Or not even use the video wall. So
Well, and they had different parts of the video wall. They had the main part, and then they had the two corners where they would have separate.
But
stuff.
when it was a new one, it had newer effects, newer visuals.
Oh yeah. From the Dark Matter album, it was all like like graphic, illustrated sort of stuff. Really cool.
So they're our hometown heroes, and they're dubbed the most popular American rock and roll band of the 1990s.
Yeah,
and it's amazing. All the members are still alive and together, and they're one of the last of that era that are still performing.
Yeah. So before we get away from this thing about Tuesday, I want to say a couple things. First off, the best viral moment from the show was when they played the song "Daughter," and a young girl who maybe was 6. What do you think, Devin?
Something like that.
5 or 6 or something. Was there with her mom, and mom got the girl up on her shoulders and sort of pushed her up towards Eddie because they were right up in the front. And Eddie sang to her and shook her hand and stuff. And then later on in the show, Eddie was throwing tambourines out to people in the crowd, and he made sure to get that little girl a tambourine later. Second viral moment from the show was the fact that unfortunately on Monday, Bill Walton, the famous basketball player and broadcaster and famous Deadhead, had passed away, and they did a dedication for the song "Man of the Hour" to Bill Walton, and did some video tribute to him up on the boards, which was really cool because Bill Walton was a cool guy. I actually met him just right down the street from where we're recording this right now at Factoria Mall. I met Bill Walton and got his autograph. Real nice guy. So those are probably two of the bigger moments of the show.
Wow. Yeah, it was a really fun experience going out. So, you have any favorite songs by Pearl Jam, or your?
Oh yeah. Lots of good ones over the years. And I had just moved to this area. To the Northwest in 1991. So it was interesting. I originally from Northern California, moved up here in 91, and it was really something to suddenly be in a place where all the music was taking off and becoming huge. I mean, Nirvana, like basically the month that I hit, Smells Like Teen Spirit dropped on MTV, and that really did change everything.
Yeah.
And the two biggest bands of 91 were Nirvana and Pearl Jam.
Yeah.
And I was more of the Nirvana fan than a Pearl Jam fan, although, of course, you could be both. I liked Pearl Jam, but for me, Nirvana were my band. But I always admired how, like, Pearl Jam, how they acted and how they dealt with the success, which I think it's obvious that they dealt with success a little better than Nirvana did.
Yeah, a lot differently.
Yeah. I definitely grew to respect them quite a bit over the years as they just kept going, doing what they wanted musically, and, did what they wanted with their fame very intelligently. And yeah, so I think they're one of those great American rock bands. And they turned out to be one of the biggest bands of all time. Although, when you look at the charts from the time, because these songs were played like every hour on MTV when they dropped these videos for months on end, you would think that they would have all been like number one in the Billboard Hot 100. But actually, a lot of these songs didn't chart in places that you would have thought. Like their first song, Alive, that got a ton of play on MTV. And it didn't even chart on the Billboard Hot 100.
Hot 100, yeah.
It did chart on the mainstream rock chart, and it charted on the U.S. alternative rock chart, went to number 18. But yeah, they didn't bother the Hot 100 until 1994.
Right.
So,
wow.
Which is wild. And I think it's partially because people were buying the album, the debut album 10, rather than buying singles for Pearl Jam. They wanted that full album.
because all those songs were great on that album.
Yeah, they had a ton of singles from it, and the album ended up now at this point being certified diamond status, which I believe is 13 times platinum.
It's rare.
So yeah,
So rare.
very
and the
very
songs
popular.
and the songs that weren't singles probably could have been.
Sure.
A lot of them.
But yeah, the metrics might have. I mean, how do they keep track and all counting of that? They're switching to digital too.
right.
So yeah, the way they kept track of like.
Well, the singles from 10, the debut album, were Alive, Even Flow,
And
Jeremy. And yeah, so that's 4 big hits from the debut album. Pretty amazing stuff.
Yeah.
And this, of course, is Alive.
Yeah. Awesome.
Across a young man's room, she said, I'm ready for you. Why I can't remember anything to this very day, except the love. Oh, you know where. Now I can see. I just stare. I'm still alive. I'm still alive.
And they were veteran musicians by then because they had been in other bands like Mother Love Bone.
And actually,
That's
even,
right.
and before Mother Love Bone, they were in Green River.
Yeah, well, there was members of Green River and Mother Love Bone that came together to form Pearl Jam after the singer of Mother Love Bone sadly passed away.
Jeff Ament and Stone Gossard, yeah.
Yeah. So they were kind of a super group from the start. Although folks outside of Seattle probably wouldn't have known. I liked Mother Love Bone and knew about them, even when I was living in California. But they didn't really make a big splash the way because they were like kind of proto grunge, but it was before grunge took over the world. So like Alice in Chains, Mother Love Bone, Nirvana, Soundgarden, Screaming Trees, all these bands existed before 91 and before grunge took over, but they were kind of like lesser known alternative rock bands that weren't lumped into a scene the way they were once 91 rolled around and Smells Like Teen Spirit just changed everything, basically.
And then jumped on that grunge bandwagon.
Absolutely. Whether they liked it or not, the record companies were
Right.
like, yeah, let's ride this wave.
Yeah, let's get him right there.
And we've been to Jack and Dino's studio.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right, for Signal Flags.
Yep.
Yeah, and we met Jack and Dino, who was one of Nirvana's producers.
Yeah, he produced a lot of Northwest rock back in the 90s. And the joke was that some folks thought that Jack and Dino was a team. Jack and Dino, they're great guys.
Yeah, both of them.
Yeah, exactly.
That's funny.
But the second single was Even Flow, which went to number 3 on the mainstream rock charts and 21 on the alternative rock charts. But again, because this was played every single hour on MTV when this came out, I would have swore this was a number 1 hit.
Yeah.
Right?
And this is the song that talks about Seattle.
Feeling, maybe he'll see a little better Saturdays. Oh, hey, now faces that he sees, stomach and ain't that familiar. Oh, no, friend, he can't help when his happy looks insane.
This is the song I was introduced to for Pearl Jam in Guitar Hero 3, and I played this song regularly.
Right.
Because my parents didn't really listen. I mean, maybe they had some Pearl Jam albums kicking around, but it wasn't on regular rotation in the 5-disc changer.
And just to show like how big like a cultural impact Seattle and grunge and Pearl Jam was making, there was a skit on Saturday Night Live with Adam Sandler kind of doing a faux Eddie Vedder thing and trying to do that quick vocal that he does in the Even Flow.
Almost like paying homage to John Belushi spoofing Joe Cocker.
Right.
Right?
And both Pearl Jam and Nirvana appeared on SNL around that time.
Yeah. And helped to solidify their status.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to hear a Mother Love Bone song if we can. Do you know Chloe Dancer, Crown of Thorns?
I believe that I do. I think their biggest hit was actually a song called Shine.
Well, there's a couple.
They also had a great song called Lady Godiva Blues.
Well, let's just tap into some of the roots.
They got some great stuff. And of course, very sad that Andy Wood passed away, the singer.
Stargazer, I think, was another huge one for them. Yeah.
And then that sort of paved the way for Eddie Vedder to sort of make his big debut.
Are they the Pearls? They're each got their own.
Yeah, I don't know.
Talents, yeah, multi-talented.
The funny thing is, we haven't even talked about the fact that they weren't named Pearl Jam at the beginning. They were named Mookie Blaylock after that basketball player. And that's why 10 is significant, because it's how many players are on a basketball court at one time. And 5 against 1 was the band against the world, but also like 5 players against, the other team and stuff. So a lot of basketball stuff with them. But yeah.
They had to change the name. They're like, no, you can't use it.
That wasn't going to work for them very well. And then, of course, now there's still controversy over what Pearl Jam really means.
Yeah, and it's interesting because Eddie Vedder wasn't in the original lineup of the band, and the band actually wrote the album before he joined. So he had to go and write the lyrics
over the
music that already existed. Yeah. Rather than being there right from the start. So I think he kind of had slight resentment towards 10 because of that, and then really felt like he came into his own with the later albums.
Yeah, Verses and Vitology.
Yeah. Well, here is that Mother Love Bone track, Chloe Dancer.
Yeah. Yes. That's it.
Crown of Thorns.
Yeah, great song.
Time spent laying by her side, laying by her side. Dreams like this must die, and a dream like this must die.
And unfortunately, he did.
Right. Yeah, he was the first big casualty of the Seattle rock scene before it blew up into the world.
No, actually, he wasn't. He was the first casualty of the grunge scene.
Right.
The first casualty of the Seattle rock scene was Jimi Hendrix.
Well, of course, but there's a huge gap in between that happening.
And it was great that Billy Joel played some Jimi Hendrix songs.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. He played
Purple Haze.
Purple Haze, and he also played one other one. Goodness, I can't remember. And then...
well, I know Billy Joel at one point released a heavy metal album, so that's not too surprising that he would pay tribute to Jimi Hendrix.
The Wind Cries Mary.
Wind Cries Mary. There you got it.
And also Jason Bonham's Led Zeppelin Evening was awesome. He opened up.
Well, so. and Pearl Jam played All Along the Watchtower.
Yeah.
Which was, as they said, playing Jimi Hendrix through Bob Dylan.
Right, they're channeling Hendrix. That was
Bob Dylan wrote the song.
Yeah, Bob Dylan's original.
And here's my favorite Mother Love Bone song. This is called Stardog Champion.
Oh, yeah. Another great song. Stuff right there.
Yeah, it really is that proto grunge too. Before
Yeah.
grunge was a thing, before it had been given a name, they were definitely pioneers.
That's some pretty heavy stuff there.
Yeah. I like that.
So Pearl Jam in 1993, the MTV Music Awards won for Video of the Year and Best Group Video, but the band refused to make a video for Black, and it started this trend of they refused to make videos for their songs.
Yeah, we on our way over here, we were listening to a little documentary, and we were listening to the part where they're talking about how Pearl Jam, after the whole controversy of the Jeremy video, being very ambiguous about what the ending sort of meant.
Right. It's kind of implied that Jeremy kills himself in front of his
yeah,
class.
But well, that's what happened. He blew,
Right.
he blew his brains out in front of his class. But a lot of people thought he blew away the class.
Right.
A lot of people were confused and thought that he was actually blowing away the class, and so
Just keep the meaning in the music.
Yeah, keep the meaning in
Because
the-
once you put it a visual, then it's
it changes things sort of in a way.
yeah.
And so he decided, he wasn't going to be in any more vids, and it really didn't hurt him.
He said, "I don't want to remember our songs as videos."
Yeah. And that was so anti to the thinking of the day, The thinking of the day was, my God, we've got to make videos and
Absolutely.
get ourselves out there.
It had served them so well because Jeremy got a ton of video play, and in fact, this was their biggest hit off of 10, and actually made the Billboard Hot 100. Went to 79, but the mainstream rock charts again and the U.S. alternative rock charts was a number 5 hit.
Right.
Both of those. And this was one of the ones that started charting worldwide for them as well.
Mm-hmm.
We unleashed the lion, gnashed his teeth and bit the recessed lady's breast. How could I forget? And he hit me with the surprise left. My jaw left hurting, ooh, wide open, just like the day, oh, like the day I heard. That he didn't give affection, no, and the boy was something that mommy wouldn't wear. King Derby, the wicked, oh, ruled his world, gently spoken.
Yeah. Based on 2 separate incidents, Eddie kind of combined the stories into one to inspire the song.
Yeah. Very powerful stuff.
And then they released their second album, Versus, which sold 950,000 copies in its first week of release, setting the record for most copies of an album sold in the first week of release at the time.
Wow. Yeah. It was a big deal.
Yeah.
It was definitely, there was such huge anticipation for the second Pearl Jam album. And when it did come out in 93, the first single, Go, was big, but it was Daughter, the second single, that really got everybody's attention.
Alone, listless, breakfast table in an otherwise empty room. A young girl, violins, center of her own attention. The mother reads aloud, child tries to understand it, tries to make her proud. The shades go down, it's in her head. Painted room, can't
Please don't call me. I'm getting too many phone calls because the band was blowing up pretty big and everything was getting pretty crazy by then.
Yeah.
I bet.
Well, they had a few other hits off this album, Animal and Dissident. But, it didn't really do as well as the debut, 10. And I'd say probably their third album, Vitology, was probably bigger than Versus. Would you say that, Darren?
A little bit, yeah. But again, it was sort of another yet change in sort of the sound and sort of the general flavor of the tracks and stuff. They were working with like a new producer, I guess, after 10, and he decided to sort of change a little bit of the sound, or not change it, I shouldn't say, let them decide what the sound was, rather than trying to, I guess the first producer, even though the 10 album was so great, the first producer really was sort of telling him a lot of how he wanted it to be. And when they got, what his name was, O'Brien, and he was like, I just want to let these guys sort of do what they want to do. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to really interfere. And apparently, it worked,
And they wanted to do the touring habits of Led Zeppelin and ignore the press and took the music directly to the fans.
Yeah.
And they set a cap on ticket prices and were trying to when they were outraged when they found out Ticketmaster was gouging their customers. So
I think that video thing kind of backfired on them a little bit in that that first album, 10, had several videos that got tons of video play. Mm-hmm. And then suddenly with the second album, MTV really didn't have much footage to play at that point. They resorted to actually showing some live stuff.
Why do you think they brought him in for an unplugged album?
Exactly. So, but I got to say, probably my favorite tune from Pearl Jam was the second single off of Vitology, Not For You. I think this is still one of their best tunes.
And they were like a 60s band putting these on records. How retro now that we have CDs.
Right.
Yeah, at the time it was very important for certain bands to also have vinyl come out, even though at this point, I'd say the early 90s, vinyl had pretty much disappeared from the landscape. Certainly new records were barely, if at all, released on vinyl.
Right, it was all CD.
Yeah.
So on Tuesday, they actually played Satan's Bed as a tour debut. And Eddie was funny. Remember what he said before the song? He said, I'm a little bit nervous about doing this next one.
Don't say the name Satan in vain.
Yeah, he said, don't take Satan's name in vain or something. Very interesting.
Well, 30 years ago, the band canceled their 1994 summer tour in protest to Ticketmaster. So
I always admired their stance against Ticketmaster because, I mean, they essentially have a monopoly to this day on ticket sales, and they've always added way more
exorbitant fees sometimes.
Exorbitant fees.
Well, I guess speaking of which, in the news right now, the government is going after them.
They're cracking down
fees
because they're a monopoly. So we'll see what happens here.
So hopefully that'll make things better.
But yeah, back in the day, especially in the 90s, early days of the 90s, there wasn't the internet. And there wasn't like these boutique ticket sales things like brown paper tickets, etc.
Oh, secondary ticket market stuff.
Yeah. Well, no, there not only was there not that, but there wasn't even like other companies. Ticketmaster had the only like national network where you could go and buy tickets at various like shops, like music shops and stuff, to get tickets.
And then not
it was all
long,
paper.
Not too long after that, though,
that.
there were some other ones like Bass. I mean, I remember Bass Ticket Outlet.
Right, all that got consolidated by Ticketmaster essentially.
They're
in
affiliates.
The 90s,
they're all.
That's when they really became a monopoly.
Right. Okay.
You go to Sears and get tickets.
Yeah, because I remember when I was in college, I went to a Bass Ticket Outlet, and got tickets for Heart when I was in college down in California.
Did you ever have to stand in line and wait for tickets sometimes?
Yeah, did you ever camp out overnight?
I did.
that one time, and then I said, I'm just going to take a risk.
No, we did that probably. Good call. No, we probably did that like 5 or 6 times. We ended up getting some front row seats for Yes when they did their reunion tour in '91, and because we were going backstage with Damn Yankees in '93, we ended up waiting overnight and getting front row seats for Damn Yankees for that show. Yeah, so it was a thing. So before we get away from Vitalogy, I was going to see if you might be able to pull up Better Man. That is one of Dave Rock and Roll Smith's and my favorite songs from that album. I remember going over to Dave's house in Kirkland when that album basically broke, and hanging out with him down his basement listening to that album. And Better Man was one of our faves.
I like how each song tells a story.
Yeah, this was a huge song from that album.
Yeah, great song.
But oddly enough, not a single.
Exactly.
I would have swore it was by the amount of times that this got like featured like on live performances and stuff.
Right.
Take no more. She practices her speech as he opens the door. She rolls over, pretends to sleep as he looks her over. She lies and says she's in love with him. Can't find a better man. She dreams in color, she dreams in red. Can't find a better man.
We had a friend whose last name was Bitterman.
I can't find a bitter man.
And so we used to tease him about that a lot.
Talking to herself, there's no one else who needs to know. She tells herself. Memories back when she was smooth and strong and waiting for the world to come
Yeah, really, after Vitalogy, it seemed like the band stopped really kind of caring about like radio hits,
Sure.
video hits, even like TV appearances and stuff. They didn't do a lot to promote their albums, but they had this huge dedicated audience, which meant that they would always have big album sales, and they would always have sold out shows and always be able to play like arenas and stuff.
Yeah.
And so it really became less about kind of playing the game, and they started playing by their own rules, which is pretty cool if you can get to that level, you know.
And you want to know something funny? You were mentioning earlier about how they did sort of they wanted to be like Led Zeppelin, right, and tour like them and stuff. And you know who else's business model that was? The Grateful Dead. Those guys, they didn't care about the albums because they knew they weren't making any money off those albums anyway. And of course, this was a little different era than when Pearl Jam was coming through their album era. But they decided that we're not going to play the game. We're going to tour. We're going to tour, you know.
We're going to go places and jam.
Yeah, and
whether
jam
they like it or not.
And they were more able to control a lot of the money from that than the album stuff. They didn't have any control over the money really for the album stuff, but they did over the touring stuff, which is cool. Yeah, so Pearl Jam sort of similar in a way.
Yeah, but despite all that, despite not playing the game, they still managed to have big hits along the way.
Sure.
Like after the 97 album Yield, when that came out, had a pretty sizable hit for them called Given to Fly.
Yeah. And they played that, I think, last night or Tuesday.
Yep.
And yeah. And it's because they were still always great songwriters.
Yeah. And this one's a 21 on the pop charts. It was number 1 on the mainstream rock charts and number 3 on the alternative rock charts. So one of their bigger hits of their career.
Alone in a corridor, waiting locked out. He got up out of there and for hundreds of miles. He made it to the ocean, had a smoke in a tree. The wind rose up, set him down on his knee.
So on Tuesday, they also, they as I said, they played that song, but they also, from that album, they played Do the Evolution, when that was in the encore set. And then they also did the tour debut of Low Light. His vocals. It hardly sounds like him.
There's another song on the Yield record.
And they've evolved by then.
Yeah. No, I love it though. I mean,
And they're still evolving to this
it's like
day.
production stuff, tricks and things, and it's great because it makes it so that it doesn't sound all the same all the time. You change his vocals up and give him a little effect on the vocals like that.
Oh, there was fast moments at the concerts and slow moments like Just Breathe when Eddie Vedder did that solo. That was...
Right. Yep. Eddie did a lot of talking about, of course, about family and Seattle and stuff, which was really cool.
It's home, yeah.
Yeah, home.
Walking these streets.
Yep. The movie Singles.
Oh, yeah.
And his daughter's reaction to the movie Singles.
Singles was a big movie, 92, I think.
Yeah, it sounds right.
Yeah, that was set in the grunge scene of Seattle at the time. And, of course, a lot of the bands had roles in the movie, including Pearl Jam, which I believe...
a couple of the guys.
Yeah,
it wasn't all of them.
They kind of assembled a super group of members.
Called Citizen Dick.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, with Matt Dillon as the front man.
Yeah.
But I believe Eddie Vedder shows up in the movie. It's been a long time since I've seen it.
No, I think you're right.
Yeah, I'd like to watch that again because one of my favorite places to hang out in Seattle at the time was the OK Hotel.
Yeah.
And they shot a lot of the movie in the OK Hotel.
Yeah, and I'll give my friend John Whitney a shout out. He's a great drummer and keyboard player. Their old band, Speed Twin, used to play at the OK Hotel way back in the day. I went to a couple shows with those guys there. Awesome stuff.
There's some great, speaking of the OK Hotel, I recently stumbled across some great live footage of Nirvana, like just on the cusp of exploding, playing at the OK Hotel, which was a small venue.
Yeah, very small.
Yeah, and they had some of those great songs that were just about to make them superstars and make sure they could never play a venue that small again. But it even then was packed out, so well worth seeking out.
And it was rare that they got to break out beyond Seattle because there's like hundreds, if not thousands, of bands playing every night, and it's like only a few somehow get big.
Yeah. I wonder if that's where that famous incident with Nirvana happened, where they played "Smells Like Teen Spirit" for one of the first times in front of a live audience, and it really hadn't been named yet. And I guess there's a rumor that some girls in the back of the venue were not really paying much attention to the show. And after the song ended, he was like getting a reaction from the crowd, and the two girls in the back, just oblivious to everybody else, were saying, I don't know, smells like Teen Spirit. So apparently that's maybe the rumor about where that song was named.
Actually, it was Kathleen Hanna, who was in several Riot Girl groups. She spray painted that phrase on Kurt's apartment wall one night, and then he called her and said, "Hey, can I use that for a title?"
Oh, okay.
And they did.
Well, there's a better origin story.
Yeah. She talks about it in her book.
No, very cool. I like it.
So did they play Last Kiss? Because ironically,
They did not.
that I think Last Kiss ended up being their biggest hit, even though it wasn't on a Pearl Jam album. It was on a compilation album that was a charity album, and it, of course, was a cover song.
But it wasn't really the vibe. He wasn't trying to make people cry. It was like kind of positive throughout the whole show.
Sure.
Well, let's hear a little bit of Last Kiss.
I do like the song.
Yeah, this is a great song.
So I can see my baby when I leave this world. We were out on a date.
Now, this was a #2 pop hit for the band in 1999 and was on the No Boundaries, a benefit for Kosovar refugees album.
A car was stalled, the engine was dead. I couldn't stop, so I swerved to the right. I'll never forget the sound that night, the screaming tires, the busting glass, the painful scream that I heard.
I'll be honest, that one reminds me of a Bruce Springsteen song.
Yeah. I mean,
it has a little of that flavor.
it was written by Wayne Cochran in 1961, but was originally a hit by J. Frank Wilson and the Cavaliers back in 1964. But probably made a big impression on young Bruce Springsteen.
Oh,
I
I
would
could
imagine.
hear him doing a cover of it as well.
was pouring down. There were people standing all around. Something
Well, sadly, guys, we're running out of time. I envy you for getting to see this phenomenal band 2 times in the same week. Is there anything you want to mention before we go? Anything you want to plug?
Oh, well, if you want to get a song ready, maybe. Do you have a song ready?
I've got lots of songs ready.
Because I was going to say, the one song that I thought was one of their fun ones that was sort of like a bonus track was called Dirty Frank. It's sort of an infamous song of theirs. And
Now, is this a song we can play on the radio?
I think so. Yeah, it's not X. But anyway, we do want to shout out the Facebook group.
Well, before that, the band released 72 live albums in 2000 and 2001, and twice set a record for most albums to debut on the top 200 at the same time.
Wow, I did not know that.
So, yeah, lots to listen out there. But the Viva ENT Talk Radio, Rock, Pop, and Soul Facebook page,
Yep.
the group. Yeah, please join and
Interact.
come
and have
join the
fun.
conversation.
Yep.
The Black Keys have canceled their tour in North America, so that's
Right.
But that's the same night we're going to see Smokey Robinson. So.
Right. You've got a big YouTube channel, as I do.
Oh yeah, Devin
You're getting a
Creisler
lot of
Studios.
hits.
That's where I have all my archive video, and we also got your channels.
Yep. At Do Train, and that is my live music channel. And then I also have a new YouTube channel, Mother McCree's Warlocks and Grateful Dead Archives. And so I do a lot of live Grateful Dead Archive concert posting on the other page. But at Do Train for all the live, the Pearl Jam stuff is up there.
Well, maybe Pearl Jam should have a residency in Seattle.
I think they could do it anytime they wanted.
Well, They seem to imply that.
Still one of the
on
biggest bands in the
Tuesday.
world. Yeah.
Yeah, they sort of implied that on Tuesday that now that they've played in Climate Pledge, they like that place, and I think they'll be coming back more often.
And your band Battersea made it in the papers.
Oh yeah,
top 10 band local band.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, they did a shout out to us in the Weekly Volcano down
TV
in
Snow?
Tacoma. Yeah, one of our tracks from our debut album. So
Yeah.
BatterseaTheBand.bandcamp.com if you want to check it out.
And the name of the album again?
Shooting Day for Night.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay, well, guys, so much fun talking about Pearl Jam with you.
But I got to get to the show. We got to go get to the show. We got to go to the Pearl Jam.
Got to get to
Yeah.
the show.
Yeah, doors
tonight.
are opening soon.
You'll have to let me know if they play Dirty Frank, which is what we're going out with today.
There you go.
Cheers, guys. Thanks for
you.
listening, everybody.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Yep. Thanks for coming on again.
Thanks. Yeah.